I've got your introductions here. I'm just going to read. Good. Good. Comfortable, like you're going to be chatting with each other a lot. Thanks. If you don't want to crash and burn. You guys are probably. We're probably okay. That's mostly. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. Also online, thank you so much for being here. So we have a lovely evening with two amazing speakers. And I'm going to start by just introducing them and introducing what we're doing this evening. So we're going to be having a discussion from a few eminent spiritual traditions and representatives of these traditions and of themselves on the purpose of spiritual practice and the purpose of spiritual practice from these traditions. Now, these traditions are represented here by Geshe Sonam Gurung of the Tibetan Bon tradition and Father Michael Halloran of Catholicism and Zen. So I'm going to do a little introduction for both of them. So Geshe Sonam trained for the Geshe degree, which is kind of like the top academic and top training degree of Tibetan Buddhist education and Tibetan Bon education, under His Holiness the 33rd Menri Trizing, the abbot of the Bon Menri Monastery, and the lineage holder of Yundrung Bon tradition. And he served as His Holiness's personal assistant for many years, and under his guidance, translated key texts in the Bon Dzogchen canon, including works by the great Shardza Tashi Gyaltsen Rinpoche. And there are a number of translations which offer a detailed yogic roadmap to enlightenment, very profound texts, blending philosophy and practice. And in addition to teaching and translating, Geshe Sonam also oversees the Mustang Cultural and Education Center in Jomsom, Nepal, in Mustang. And you take care of lots and lots of children, raising them, educating them in the Bon traditions and in secular education. So, with a goal of also making these teachings available on a global basis in the 21st century. So lots of things, and also they're building a big temple to help preserve the Bon tradition at this time, which we can say more about later. Father Michael Halloran, Father Roshi Michael Halloran, is a Catholic priest, Zen Roshi, and a former Carthusian monk, I think of 22 years, which is a silent order within the Catholic Church. And he was named as a Roshi in the White Plum Asanga of the Zen tradition by Roshi Robert Kennedy. How do you say that, Senor? The SJ, how do you?
That's a Jesuit. He's a Jesuit.
Right, Jesuit. He is a follower and advocate of what his friend, the internationally renowned theologian of interfaith understanding, Professor Paul Knitter, calls double belonging. So this is belonging to both the Zen tradition and the Catholic tradition. And according to this, we can be rooted in one particular religious tradition, especially by cult and upbringing, and also receive substantial nourishment from another tradition. So I'm sure this will be discussed today.
Or a triple and quadruple belonging also.
So. Right. And which is unusual to the degree that you have done. And he was educated by the Jesuits and was a Jesuit himself for 5 years as well. So lots of different training in these traditions. And after that, he spent 22 years in the silent contemplative order of hermit monks, the Carthusians, across Europe and the US, France, England, the US, and then left the monastery and then became a priest in a number of parishes in Manhattan and the Bronx. And now you reside at St. Monica's Parish, right, on 79th Street. And he continues to minister and exercises the functions of a parish priest, and also runs Dragon's Eye Zendo Weekly online, and has long been engaged in outreach to the LGBTQIA community. So those were introductions. So we have two people here who I have great respect for. The reason I'm here is I'm just a student of Geshe-la, and also I have received very precious spiritual direction from Father Michael, and I'm admirers of both of them. And I'm an interfaith minister and just a practitioner. So I'm really interested to get to this question of why. Why are we practicing? And also, where are these practices leading in each of your traditions? So maybe we can start by just saying a little bit about where each of you are coming from, and then maybe begin to explore this question of what is the purpose of spiritual practice in your tradition? So who would like to begin? I've always start at the end.
Okay. The purpose of practice in any tradition, as far as I'm aware, is transformation. Is, to use a term that appears both in Christianity and St. Paul and in Buddhism, is to wake up to who we really are, who we're called to be, what our true identity is. And most of us, probably all of us to begin with, walk around identifying with our little egos and thinking that our thoughts and our feelings and, you know, our personal history is basically who we are. And of course, that's totally false in any tradition. Less obviously emphasized in Christianity, I think, but it is very clear nonetheless if you look. So we practice in order to wake up and discover who we really are. And I think that's kind of what the whole purpose of life is. So I mean, why would you not do that? Because if you stay in your ego, you're going to be miserable, in case you hadn't noticed. So we try and live on another plane. So that's the goal as well. That's the why, but that's also the goal. That's the how. We engage in spiritual practice, and our whole life becomes a practice. And then the goal is to live from that transformation. And of course, we'll get to this as well. The proof of it is if you're living joyfully, peacefully, compassionately, giving in self-service, if you're a bodhisattva, to use one language, if you're a saint in this world. So that's a little thumbnail introduction.
Excellent.
Oh, Trashidele, everybody. My name is Geshe Sonam, as he introduced. So, yeah, I think I'm from a indigenous religions and ancient religion of Tibet, the origin religion of Tibet, which is called, we have native born, Yungdung born, and newborn. Like we have 3 different classes of born. But to me, why this Dharma is, or burn is important in our humanity is, as Father has been said, it's to awake. But, you know, to me is how we can become a better person, like a meaningful life, you know. But it's saying is easy, but how to really be there is not easy. You know, like to become that, I think there are a lot of things talking about like a ethical, and our human nature is very strange that even not others to deceiving, sometimes we deceive ourselves too. So sometimes we deceive ourselves, but we are not conscious about that, what we are doing. So actually Dharma main is to how we to be conscious. And like there are many people comes that asking question, why I'm here, why I'm so much problem, why my life is like that, you know. So then the people, everybody looking for the different, technique to where should I go. And then sometimes they go to the church, sometimes they go to the monastery to find out, like from the teacher, so they can get a meaning of life, how to live. I think this is the more important to understand, like how we can become a better person in this earth.
Great. So I'm hearing a theme so far, which is to know yourself, know reality, and to transform into something better, into a better person in this world. This is the theme I'm hearing so far. So we have all these different traditions. And even right here, I mean, there's differences between these traditions. There's differences between Bön and Zen. There's certainly differences between Catholicism and these, as far as the average person can tell. And as far as, you know, you can go deep and still see these differences. So can we say a little bit more about, like, can we get more specific now about what does it look like to get, correct me if this is not the right language to use for each of your traditions, but to get to the end or the culmination or the fullest shaping of what these traditions are trying to take us to. Can we describe that a little bit? And also, I'm curious also to not gloss over differences. So if you do see things like, for example, Father Michael, in the traditions that you practice, do you see differences in what's described in these traditions? So maybe a little bit more specific from both of you about what does it look like?
You want to go first this time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not like I study mostly in Bon religion, so I'm not a scholar that many religious that how they does. But according to my small little knowledge about other religious, I don't think we are really controverse each other. We use different name, but we fight about that name. Actually, suppose like I can give you one example. Those God believer, if you do bad, God will punish you. And then we says, if you do bad, your karma will punish you. Okay, God and karma is to me. I'm not talking what is real or not, but to me, the karma and the God, to us, no different. To us, whether that is karma or whether that is a God, nothing different to us. If I do good, I get good. If I do bad, I get bad. So who is there? Doesn't matter whether it's a karma or whether it is a God. So in that concept, like when we, sometimes many religions are talking about, I'll say, surrender. Maybe you might find a different meaning for that. But what I think surrender is a different thing too.
What is the word?
Surrender.
Oh, surrender.
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 Yeah. So many people see a different way. So devotion, they how to use faith. Like, those are not my mother tongue. But still, when I see what in our practice and what it is, so as I told you, karma and God, but to us, it's a no different look like, once you really dedicated or how to say, surrender, and then you see what it was look like. You change totally your life. So that's the why we become very conscious. We really, how to say, because of that changes, that transformations of that result. And then you will find really, wow, this religious has a very different. And one thing to me, in the humanity, like inside the human being, that many people are from very, how say, low level when we talk, many people are suiciding themselves because they don't have a hope. They lost their hope. But if he or she could believe on God or something like any religious, they have a hope. They don't need to be, how say, when we lose our totally hope, then we suicide actually. So therefore, I think without religion, to me, on earth is like a no how say main essence in our humanity. That's how I look. I don't know, maybe.
Can I ask just a clarifying question?
Yes.
So in your tradition, it talks about enlightenment, it talks about Buddhahood. What is this?
Yeah, that's the enlightenment. Mean like actually there is no way up there that I need to become that. Like we have an unconsciousness one. we have an aware of. I never look myself. I never internalize. I always looking out. I always try to complain other. And I will never look what I'm doing. Am I ethical? Am I paying respect? Many, what we does is like to aware of this, how aware of how they giving me respect, or aware of am I giving enough respect to them or not? Conscious about that. Or mindful about what I'm doing, what is my conduct, like what's the in daily life, what I does. So if I'm like really conscious about or aware about, so when I'm mostly conscious and aware and awake, that is called awake. I'm awakened. I mean, I really understand what's going with me and with others. So this awake means not only like a, how should I say, aware means I aware of one thing, when I drink water, get a less. Only that aware, it is also awareness, aware. But we are not talking only one single awareness. It's a broader awareness, understanding my mind, how it working. Through my mind, how my speech change. Through my mind, how my actions change. We call three doors: body, mind, and speech. So the main is our mind. So my mind order to my speech, my mind order to my body to do things. So once if you say, if I want to say, I want to speak nicely, it doesn't come unless I doesn't change my mind. I have to be a kind mind, calm mind. And then you don't need to be say nice. It will automatically come. So root is a mind to us, then conscious about the mind. So on the earth, too much materialism. Science doesn't recognize, but we don't say this brain is a mind. Brain has big impact from the mind. I remember, I can believe that. I'm a driver in car. You see car moving, but actually I'm the driver. Where I want to go, car goes there. Car itself doesn't go there. So brain doesn't itself work. What my mind want, and brain has a sign, and those appear there. So therefore, like a conscious about our own self, what is we are, like how my actions impact on other, how their actions impact on me, being awake, not fall in sleep. Like when we do alcoholic, we become unconscious, we become unawakened. So those are the all the time awakened and totally conscious about what's happening here. That is called the enlightenment. Enlightenment means you enlighten, you understand something, you know something. But knowing one thing is not enough. Knowing everything. So that's the what I think enlightenment means. Yeah, but so many, but I try to.
I think that really starts putting us in a good direction that we can explore even more details. Thank you so much, Father Michael. I'd love to hear your perspective on this for your traditions.
So in Christianity, it's named after Christ, after Jesus Christ. And Christ is not just Jesus' last name. It's the transformed, resurrected Jesus from all eternity and to all eternity. That's what we try to connect with in Christianity. That's whom. So we have sacramental system, with baptism and confirmation. We just celebrated a beautiful confirmation last week at our parish. And then the Eucharist every day, which is we believe the body and blood of Christ, of the earth. It's the resurrected Christ, and that transforms us. So we use the sacramental tools externally, as and to be internalized as a way of being transformed in Christ and taking on, speak about the mind of Christ, as St. Paul says. We have the mind of Christ. Now, how many Christians can say that? Have the mind of Christ. I don't just kind of imitate Christ or worship Christ, but I become Christ. I'm transformed into Christ, so that there's only one Christ working through me. That's what St. Paul says. I live no longer I, but Christ lives in me. So that's the way Christians envision the path and the goal. In addition to the liturgical prayer or the external, the community worship, as I always insist, you have to have the inner practice as well. It's so emphasized in the other traditions of the inner exercises. And that's where contemplative prayer comes in. We have great mystics, St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa, mystics throughout history that guide us into the practice to have that kind of transformation. I like what Sonam was saying there about the karma and God. Let's look at that a little bit. My good friend and mentor, Father Richard Rohr, a contemporary Franciscan, has a good phrase. He says, "We're not punished for our sins. We're punished by our sins." And that's what you were saying. It's the actual stuff we generate, and that's itself its own punishment. If you want, it should be a lesson. It's not a punishment in the sense, okay, you have to suffer now. But through the suffering you create yourself, you will hopefully learn to mature and go beyond that. As for the God, well, one of the things I think Buddhism can help teach the West is stop talking so much about God. Because the great Protestant theologian, it always slips my mind when I try to talk about it. He was saying that we should put a 100-year moratorium on the word God, because we're talking all the time about God as if we know what we're talking about, and we can't possibly. St. Augustine, the great father of the church, said, "Si comprehenderis non est Deus." If you've grasped it, if you've understood it, it ain't God. So all this pontificating about God and God's will, and well, shut up. Explore the mystery. So there's that, but there's also the fact that yes, it's unthinkable, and there are many mystics and theologians who've said this across the centuries. It's unthinkable that any God or anyone that is the source of enlightenment and the source of life and joy and peace would eternally condemn someone to the fires of hell. So God does not throw people into hell. Nah. We create our own hell in this life and maybe beyond. Even the Buddhists have hells afterwards, right? Temporary. But we create them for ourselves. God is not up there throwing people into hell. That's just one of the horrible myths that we've propagated. And this is what you come to when the deeper you practice, not only in other traditions, but the deeper you go into Christianity, the more you become, enlightened within that tradition, the more you realize, oh, that has to be understood differently. And oh, this is who God, do I dare say, really is. And you discover it's an infinite field of light and life and joy and peace. And that's what we connect with. And that's who we are. We are the mind of Christ. We take on the mind of Christ. Christ is all of us together. St. Augustine, the same St. Augustine I mentioned a moment ago, said very famously, in the end of the ages, there will just be one Christ loving himself. It sounds funny, but there's just Christ. That's what we have to wake up to and wake up for and be in all dimensions of time and eternity, to be that loving, healing presence. I've come that they may have life and have it more abundantly, is what Jesus said, and he still says in our union with him. So I'd say that much right now.
That's beautiful. So we have Christ, we have these Buddhas, and they, we're in this beautiful space surrounded by Buddhas and surrounded by Buddhas. And so part of my thought of this discussion is I feel like if we can get a sense of where these things are going and what it looks like to walk there, then all this could feel much more real and feel connected to what matters to us. So this is where I'm trying to go with this. So I feel like we're getting that picture. And we could talk more about Christ and more about the Buddhas and like, what are these beings? How are they related to us? Like, you said, and I know that you've described even at our event yesterday, that we have an essence that within us. But just like if someone has never heard these words before, if someone has never heard of Christ, never heard of a Buddha, they have no idea what they are, and you had to just tell them this is what they are, describe it. How would you talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
Father Michael, would you like to?
Well, as Thomas Merton said after he had a great vision of this in the middle of his monastic life, he said if you could really see, you'd see every person has a radiant diamond within. That's who they most are, a radiant diamond of light, and everyone has it. Everything has it, I would say. And if we could really see it, we'd see it. It all comes together as one light. That's Christ, and that's Buddha nature. Whatever you want to call it, that's what it is. And these beings, who are very real, can help us, get there. I always like to say, our religions keep fighting, and people of different denominations keep fighting, and my religion is better. You're false. And in the spiritual realms, there's no competition. Jesus is not saying, Buddha, get out of here. This is my territory. That's absurd. I mean, we're projecting our own ego, and our own egotism, on the spiritual realm. And all these beings work together. I'm totally related, connected to Christ, constantly. But there's a wonderful, in the room where I was in, just right here before I came into this room, there's a fantastic, icon of Amitabha Buddha, the Buddha of infinite life. A manifestation of Amitabha, infinite light. And that's one of my absolutely favorite, beings. I just feel so connected whenever I see that. And there's no conflict. There's no competition there. Both can nourish you. You might say, well, one's higher than the other. Well, okay, we can argue about that. But who cares? I mean, they're all working together. And if you feel called to it and you find nourishment in it, or in many traditions, well, use it, because there really is not any conflict. If you go deep enough in yourself and in the traditions, if you go deep enough, there's no conflict. I think a lot of the times it's because people don't go deep enough and they get scared and they don't see how it fits together and they run away and then they get afraid. No. If you go deep enough, there's no issue. And there's no competition. It's my experience.
Wonderful. I'll have follow-up. I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Suppose we could talk about the Buddha nature, right? But what is Buddha nature? Where in me? It's like we love, either if you are a parent, you love your children. Or if you have a partner, you love your partner, or you love your pet, or you love your country. Whatever the love word is a positive word. So love doesn't need to be created here. Love is within us. Compassion is within us. Loving kindness is within us. Wisdom is within us. We never look inside. We've been always looking outside. Love, compassion, those are not outside there. It's inside us. We need to invoke. It's too much trust on it. When we, people are so much lost their trust, because anything, suppose talk about the religious, forget about without trust, nothing open. But even you want to do a small business, if you are doing two people together, small business, you need a trust between two of you. Otherwise, that business doesn't work. Trust has a soul power. That trust is called the Buddha nature. And once you understand how the trust work, how the faith work, how the compassion work, how the loving kindness work. Not only that, how the anger work, how the attachment work, how the ego work, jealousy work. If you really understand those, if you understand we say, usually in our practice, we are talking about the forgiveness and compassions. For what? Means because of my ignorance, because of unaware of myself, I do stupid things. So when I aware, wow, why I'm doing like this? It's really not healthy for me. If you want to eat lots of sweet, you can eat. But sooner or later, you get the diabetes. It's no one give you. You create yourself because of we are not conscious ourselves. This awareness, consciousness, if we talk about many things, so all these is within us. That one, if we recognize it, and then there is my weakness is. I do have so much weakness. I do have so much scare, fears. I do have so much doubt. But why these fears? How's the doubt came? Because there is no strong trust within me. So I need to, what we do at practice, and we ask, in this earth, do you trust anyone? They say, yes, I trust my mother, or I trust my teacher. Okay, can you just think about, keep reviewing that one, that trust, like how good he was, why I'm trusting him. If you could keep thinking that trust, if you keep, reminding yourself, that trust becomes stronger and stronger. If you hate someone, and then if you keep remembering that, your hate's becoming stronger and stronger. So therefore, first we need to see what negative inside me, what positive inside me. Who knows? This is positive, this is negative. This bring me, doubt and pressure and unhappy, make me so loneliness because of my narrow-minded. And no one want to be my friend. And I live as a loneliness. And I feel why I'm like that. Everybody has friend, everybody enjoying. And then if anyone come, I complain. I don't trust. There is no trust. Without trust, we never get any friends. Therefore, this trust is within us. If we know the trust and mistrust, if you know those two nature of those, if you know both sides, our dark side, our light side, we are neither good nor bad. We are absolutely what we are. But if we become a Buddhahood, enlightenment, or as you say, he says, Christ, you want to become, you have to aware where is how you operate. Usually like in astrologist, what is the star today? Oh, my good star today. Like if I have today my mood is a good mood, I'm happy. That's my good star. And I'm sad, I'm doubt, I'm pressure. That is my bad star going on. It's not outside there. Star is within you. You have to recognize which star are you operating. So we teach, the Dharma teach, like a religious teach, to really pointing in, look inside you. And then you aware that, and you can free yourself. One guy went with, pond or like that, and he stepped in a stone. And, the gravity is the nature, right? And he stepped on the corner, and the imbalance, gravity took there, and he fall, and stone hit, and he broke his leg. And then he's complaining to the God, why are you punishing me? It's not God. He was not conscious. If you do that way, the gravity will work itself. That's the nature, how it works. They don't understand the reality, nature, how it works. That ignorance is the best problem, worst problem of us. So to learn this, we are not teaching, we religious are not teaching any blind faith. We teach the truth, actually, the reality, the fact. So in science and religions, to me, like a science more on the, materialism. If they can measure, they can see, then they can tell. Otherwise, when I look the, psychologist history, the Carl Jung or something says that's a black box because they don't understand the mind. And they try to research through the habit, but that's really unpredictable. It's really like this can't measure well. So that's why science couldn't manage the mind, I think.
Could I elaborate on a couple of points there? By the way, Paul Tillich was the theologian I was trying to think of earlier. Yes, very often we come across this in Christianity even more because of our view of a punishing God, that, oh, something happened to me, why is God punishing me? And of course, it's too bad that they were taught that way because it's completely false. But Sonam was using the notion of trust and surrender, and that really is central. Surrender to the mystery, surrender to Christ, surrender to your teacher, whatever it might be, that to the mystery of life, to the what's beyond yourself. All the spiritual practices across the traditions have that, where you have to, surrender. And I found that, in Zen meditation as well, that sometimes people would not make progress for years because they couldn't surrender. And the reason was they had some trauma in their life where they had to protect themselves. So I often point out, and it's true, the science is not, or psychology is not the answer, but very frequently in our spiritual practice, I've come to the conclusion that, if you really want to go deep in spiritual practice, you got to take some therapy. Buddhism or Christianity is not psychotherapy. I mean, it can help and it can push you in that direction. It can hold you and raise you up. But to actually face the issues that prevent you making any progress spiritually, you have to deal with it emotionally on its own level. You've heard of intellectual bypass and spiritual bypass. That's what we're talking about. You're trying to jump over your issues by going higher, but you can't do that unless you integrate on a lower level as well. So that's just a reflection on that, the process.
I think that's such an important point to bring up. And it makes me wonder, so what is the realm that spiritual practice is working with? So we're talking about mind. We're talking about how, like Geshe Sonam, you were talking about how it's understanding ourself, understanding all of ourself, and it's our true nature, but it's not rejecting any of these parts of ourself, good, bad, etc. We're talking about how it's the mind of Christ. So what, we talk about mind, we talk about emotions, we talk about healing, trauma, psychology. What is where in us is spiritual practice happening? Does that make sense? How would you describe that to someone? And don't hesitate to use the frameworks that your tradition uses, because I think it's helpful beyond just having the frameworks that we all have as people in this society, to actually learn these frameworks so we can see ourselves differently.
Yes, to me, like what you are doing, suppose if like my body, my mind, my emotion, my speech, my thoughts, beside that, there's no we, there's no I. It's I means all together. Suppose like if I have a book, it has a cover. Then if I take out, is this the thick, what do you cover, or like a thick
cover for book?
Yeah. Is this the book? You will know this is the cover. And then I turn the first page. Is this the book? No. If I turn down each and every pages, and now at the end, last, the thick cover we left is this one. Now where is the book then? So if we says, my mind is not me, my unconsciousness, my anger, my these are not me. Other than that, we can't find the me. See, all together. So that's what I'm thinking is me. Like when I was born, my name was not Sonam. I didn't born with a name with a Sonam. My mother took me to Lama. So she is wishing that my son stay longer life and become a better person and a better life. And then she went to the Lama, and the Lama blessed, and he gives a name. Since then, I become a Sonam. Before that, I wasn't the Sonam. Who am I then? So it's same. Before we doesn't invent a computer, science doesn't give a computer name. After they, all together, then they give a name. This is, I'm talking the nature, like how, first, what does mean we? I, me, you, and all together, then we become a we. Am I we? No. Is he we? No. Where is we? All together, then we become we. So like that, so that's why I'm talking. Like when I don't understand the reality, when I don't understand I'm not conscious about the gravity. If I don't understand if I hate, it burn me myself. If I don't understand that, and then I keep hating other, or I keep blaming other, that result is suffering will become to me. So if we don't understand that as a reality, so means what the Dharma serve, or where to us this Dharma is. Who understand that reality? There is a Dharma. We call the born mean fact, reality. If you understand the fact, not only understanding, you tell truth, the truth, tell truth. Don't be deceive other. Don't deceive yourself. Deceiving is not a truth. Deceiving is not a fact or not a reality. So what the Dharma gives, religious give. Religious try to teach us the reality of us so that we doesn't confuse. So we doesn't lost ourselves. So we can keep conscious ourselves, awake ourselves, aware of things, how it works. So that's the what Dharma, the religious are try to give us.
I think that's very clear. It sounds like you're saying, where is it happening? Reality. And if we try and take the pieces, it's not Dharma. We look at all of it.
Yeah.
Then it's
Well, that's what we need to do, is look at all of it. I like what you're saying about being named and who was I before I got my name. Reminds me of the Zen koan, who were you before your parents were born? When you get that, you'll get it. But where enlightenment, as I say, includes everything. So that, as one spiritual writer said, in a Buddhist tradition, there's no enlightenment apart from the body. So you can't flee the body, which we often do in Christianity and some of our ascetical traditions. Flee the body and go up to pure spirit, and you don't realize that your spirit is just as unenlightened as your body, and it all has to be enlightened. I like in the Kabbalistic tradition, the Sephirotic tree, and the interlocking trees of life, which are body, soul, spirit, and divinity, all different levels with, angels and all these different levels as well. And then the chakra system can help us to integrate all those things, which you do have in the Tibetan tradition, use of the chakras. Because that has been a weakness in Christianity throughout the centuries. We've said, oh, the body, of course, has fallen and your emotions are dangerous. So you have to, your will, which is the ego, which is terrible.
Mm.
So if you put your emphasis on the will, you're really going to go wrong.
Mm.
Your will, helped by grace and your intellect, if you see what's good and your will puts it into practice, helped by God's grace, never mind the body and the emotions, then see, this is terrible because it cuts you in all sorts of, pulls you apart in all sorts of pieces. As theologian Karl Rahner said, your mind is no closer to God than your body is. They're both infinitely distant. Or when you wake up, they're both it. Because when you wake up and realize that it's all functioning together, it's all one reality, then it works. Then it works harmoniously. But we have to be able to get to the point where we're not excluding anything, because as soon as you exclude any dimension or anything, it's duality, and you're not enlightened. But you have to be at the point where the light, can really illumine all those things, and you realize that you are that light, as I quoted before, that light shining at the center of everything, which includes everything, includes everyone. So that's where it's happening. It's happening everywhere. That's why Zen says, if the young monk goes to the teacher, and this is one of the koans, the young monk goes to the teacher and says, well, okay, teacher, I've had my breakfast. Now what should I do? As if he's going to get, initiated into some esoteric practice. And the master says, you had breakfast? Wash your bowl. Because if you're really awake, as you wash your bowl, the universe is present. But you have to wake up to it. And nothing is excluded. As soon as you exclude something, you're not there.
So this is some pretty, I was going to say vast territory, but no, it's here territory.
That's right.
So I'm like struck by the question of, this sounds like basic human reality education here. Why is this not everywhere that we learn how to be in life? I can think of immediately, like, these are considered religions. They are religions, and it gets relegated to this very separate place in our culture, at least, because our culture doesn't have, one tradition like this. So I guess I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts, both of you, on what can we do about this? If this is so if this is basically understanding reality, how can we make this, how are your traditions trying, and how are you seeing the opportunities are present for making this type of understanding and education available and accessible to people? How can that happen?
Well, one thing that always impressed me visiting Buddhist countries, is that they really teach and initiate, young men especially, but children into the practice. They in Myanmar, when I was there, they had this initiation. I think they were 10 years old or something, and they were had special clothing, and they were going to be initiated. And when I was in Thailand, watching little kids being taught meditation, by this is what we need to do. We have to start from a very early age, showing that this is an essential dimension of life, and in fact, in the end, is life itself. When you realize what you're doing. So when I visited the parish school kids, when I was in a parish with a school, I visited the first and third grades and the fourth grades, and I had them, sit and meditate, and I gave them a little instruction about going down into their heart, through your throat, down into your heart, and meeting Jesus there. This is the kind of thing that I think is really important for to get that simple, profound practice a part of life as soon as possible.
Yeah, to me, that's the why we have a 9 ways of born. Actually, we says that there are 84,000 that a teacher teach how to liberate the different, we call that there is a different 84,000 concept. That concept is making us a limited belief, and then we couldn't go beyond that. No one is bounding us because our belief, limited belief, is bounding us. So therefore, these 84,000 that one we are subsumed into, then we call it the 9 ways of born. Like if you read about the born, there is called 9 ways of born. These 9 ways of born has many, there are main 3 different way of how to approach to the people, like how to bring so that everybody can understand the reality of life, how we can, so how we can enlighten. Enlighten means understand the reality of my life, reality of me, who am I, why I am here. So in this room, we have this many, we have a different abilities. Each are not same. If you bring the kids, if you become a teacher, and when you teach the alphabet, some kids immediately catch you up. So, and then you have to go to father's teaching. Some whole day I'm giving him, still next day also he doesn't get it. So this means, what does that I'm talking about? That means each person has each different abilities. So when we understand this, and in our ancient one, we talk about like a God and demon. So we say God and demons are always with us. So that doesn't mean there is like a God, something very special, like this person. Not like that. They means inside me, my anger is my demon, my loving kindness is my God. So they fight. Sometimes we want, oh no, look like I'm so lazy. From tomorrow, I want to be down too much. I shouldn't be lazy now. But I say, and then after we go and here and then, okay, I think anyway, today I will enjoy, but tomorrow I will start. So we keep doing this, We can't really start, point. So because of this, when we understand, like science also talk, children have to know, as many people say, what I have a God-gifted talent. They are talking, God-gifted talent means when I teach, one children gets so fast, another doesn't get. There's some monks in us. When he go to school, he was so challenged with getting the English alphabet. But when we teach the Tibetan alphabet, he was so smart, immediately he got it. So if we say he is not smart, then he shouldn't get the Tibetan alphabet very fast. If we say he is smart, then he doesn't get the English alphabet. So each has a different abilities. So some people has a less patient. Some people has a medium patient. Some people has a already like a God gifted or karma, past life. You've been in a good and now you're born with that kind of, but if you remember, you don't remember. But different like that. So in school, everybody says you should know, children should know what's that, and we ask them what you like out of all this subject, which one you like. And even I myself, I confuse all the time. I don't know which one is my best. I couldn't show, So therefore, according to this, like who has a more compassion, like a patient, like suppose if I will ask you, like alcohol is bad or good? So some will say alcohol is poisons, don't touch. Someone say, no, this is a medicine you have to have. So who is right? Who is wrong? If you take a medicine from pharmacy and you eat, is that medicine for you? No guarantee. It could be poison for you. But we say that is medicine in a particular, according to what kind of problem there. According to that, that is medicine. It's not like a absolute way. We can't say. If we really go to the reality, alcohol is neither good nor bad. Good and bad is we created it. Mind, dualistic, made it up. So therefore, some people who have no enough patience, one little bit alcohol come, he can't stop. He have to drink till he get flat. So to them, Buddha says, alcohol is poison. Don't touch. Even don't look at there. And then who has a really, okay, a cup of alcohol you enjoy with food, enough. That's really help you to digest. And it's we call in us as a nectar that really help us as a honey, which is made from the flower, right? So it is a nectar actually. So it depends who you are. Because I have to understand how the alcohol work to me. Okay, if you get drunk, not problem. What is the problem? We become unconscious. That unconsciousness, as I told you, when we are not conscious, we don't realize the reality. That's the problem. So that is our cause of suffering. So that's why, we got a renunciation path, transformation path, and liberation path. So this liberation path says, if you really understand, alcohol, some people, if you recognize the right person, this will totally work as a nectar, as a medicine. If you find the wrong person, that will be really work as a poison. So what it is, none of this actual reality is. Reality is neither is a good nor is a bad. So that's when I see the good, I'm on another extreme. If I see the bad, that is another extreme. It should be always in between, like a zero. In the math or science, you have a zero and then +1, +2, +3. Here -1, -2, -3. Alcohol is a zero. Neither plus nor minus. Me, if I understand myself, if I understood reality, I am neither bad nor good. I am at zero. Zero means really conscious, wholeness, spacious.
So it sounds like you're describing there's so many, you mentioned the 84,000 concepts, and I guess there's 84,000 means of liberation as well, right?
Yes.
And that's
how to liberate from that concept, like a limited belief.
Right. So if there's all these different people with all these different talents, capacities, and limitations, and for one person, something will be poison, for another person, that same thing will be nectar. How do your traditions and how do you think we should deal with this when trying to help people? Like, your traditions are all about helping people to come to know reality. And to me, I'm hearing this potential danger of, if something's going to be poison to one person, but it might be medicine to someone else, how do you balance individual instruction and guidance with mass tradition teaching? Like, how do you fit those together? And how do you think, and what are you seeing in your own practices and your teaching as to what people these days, the people you see, need from these traditions in this regard?
Well, that's been a major focus of my ministry, sometimes in the monastery itself, but especially in the 30 years since I'm out, is what's called spiritual direction. that people who are really serious about the spiritual life, it's true in Zen as well, when you have a teacher, you do Daisan, where you receive them usually about once a month. They come and tell you where they are, what the issues are. You learn about their background, psychological, social, intellectual, spiritual, and you move forward, month by month. This is what's happening. What should I do about this? Or how do you think this is? And we try to accompany them on the journey. And that's where you can sometimes say, well, you should go to therapy too, or whatever. But that's essential. You have to have an individualized, a particular focus and direction relationship with individuals, because you can't just say, well, say the rosary or go to church. Well, okay, as a generalized thing, but what about you now? This is what you, from what I can see, need to do now. Try it out. Come back next month or send me an email if there's an emergency, and we'll see if that worked. And if not, we'll try something else. But as you were saying, everyone has their own ability. And we would say in the Christian tradition with God, a calling. You can sense it, as a calling from God or not. You can sense this deep pull to a particular path. That's who you are, however you understand it. And the spiritual director or the Zen teacher or whatever will help you to live that out. And hopefully, presumably because that person is a little more advanced on the path, has more experience, has seen more people along that path. That's really essential, I think, for spiritual growth.
Thank you.
To our tradition, like it's a very similar. I'm giving, metaphor so that you understand what I'm trying to say, because I'm from the different culture. My different English is not my mother tongue. So my English might be a little bit, what word I'm using, maybe what I thinking, and what you getting should be maybe is a different, because I have a boundary of those. Anyway, but as suppose if I pick one medicine and I give you, it's a danger, right? So similar like that. So where should I go? I should go to the doctor prescribe, and then I go to the pharmacy, and pharmacy read the prescription and which drugs which should be given and how to consume. So similar like that. If you first, here is a too much problem. Without teacher, if you want to become chemistry, you need a teacher. Without chemistry teacher, you can't become a chemician or what?
A chemist.
Chemist. You can't become a chemist. So you need first you check which college are you going to study, and is that college is good or not? Teacher is good or not? Study there are good or not? You analyze a lot. Similar like that. We have been said in our teaching also, if you go for looking for the Dharma or teaching, religious study, first you choose the right teachers. And that what is the right teacher? Any teaching you are looking for, is that teacher does know or not? You want to learn chemistry and you go to the lecturer of architecture. It's not going to happen then. So like that, so which are you looking for? So first we sit like this, what are those 9 ways of born? And then we talk one by one. And then you look, oh, maybe this look like it's quite fitted to me. Now you go further. First you read the books, go to the talk, listen and study. From these days, so much possibilities. You go to the AI, ask the questions, and go to this public talk like this, or read the many books. And then you make sure, look like which one is really, set with me. And then once you get that, now you know what you need. Now you prescribe, you are doctor. Now you need a chemist. Now you go to prescribe that. Now you go to the teachers. Who knows this? Who can teach me this? and then have a teacher. But our problem, to me, in life, when we talk about the community, like a bigger point of view, why this? Either this is democracy, or like any kind of those things, or religion. There are many different religion. Once it's come to the public, some public will be get exact what it says. Half will be in medium, and another will be totally opposite. They misuse. And then we blame to the religion. And it's not, so it's like people, we have to understand, it's not about good and bad. This is the human natures, because we have too many things to do. And we can't give enough time to do that. And we can't become a very, special on this. So in earlier time, when I look to my generation, when I look, some teachers know everything, but they are not specialists in one, but they're really balanced. In the balance point, like you have GM, like a general doctor, like a
General practitioner. Yeah.
general practitioner. This doctor has so many different, like that. Some Lama, they study general. They know some astrology also. They know some philosophy also. They know some meditation also. So everything goes in a balance. Some goes very individual, very specialist, like that. So those who goes in general, you look, he knows everything. But when you go very deep, then soon he will end up. He can't go in very deep inside that. So therefore, what it is like when we bring, suppose like when I see the Hindus yogas, we always say, but Hindus yoga wasn't like just stretching your body, Now end up with everybody is a yoga teacher. What does mean? It's a stretching. Just that is the yoga, But actually not that. Yoga means actually, if you really go to the deeper, but there are some, our Western people really got, they also achieve the high level of those yogis. It doesn't mean no one get it. But one time, His Holiness the Dalai Lama come to our monastery and telling me, Geshe, in our monk, he give a lecture and says, no, in Bon text also, in Buddhist text also, talking about walking on the water. If you go in the fire, you don't burn. So miracles things you are talking. We are also talking. If that is real, this is a time to prove to the world. And then I thought, okay, who really don't want fame and really not looking, things, when they really practice, if you are not looking dualistic, if you really absorb yourself, as a surrender yourself, not looking for fame and who you are, just those people get, because they're able to surrender, really dedicate on that, and they could get that, but they are not willing to show people. Who have, they don't want to show. Who don't have, we want to show, but we don't have. Problem is there.
That's a big problem.
So how we can do it, So therefore, problem is like why I'm saying this is, when the Dharma comes, it's not, to me, Dharma is not problem. Those, what do you call the democracy or many things, right?
Political
Even
systems.
politics, there's everybody. So this is a great idea for our society to bring everybody educated, enlightened, like this and that. But who runs as a human, right? We got so many corrupted people there, That's the head of those. Actually, when you read those system, wow, sure, that will give everybody freedom, but not, it doesn't give, because we are human. We does strange, but that doesn't go back to the God and how say religious. To me, my point is we missing there. We blame to religious. No, we are stupid. Religious are not stupid, I think. Religious try to help us, support us, keep hope alive. To me, that's like that. So therefore, these teaching are there, level by level. You can choose, and as you go to school, you choose before you go to college. You have to know after 10th, you get a certain three subject you choose. After 12, then you choose one subject, and you have to be specialist on one, and more bachelor, master, and PhD. You have to be more and more precise. So similar that in Dharma, if you go that way, you will 100% get. There's no fake over there. So this is the way how we can bring to the people.
That's very helpful. So I have now in my mind the sincere seeker who is maybe not on a path yet, doesn't have a tradition, but is called, feels something pulling them. And so I'm wondering if you can both maybe address two, what would seem like two very common and important questions that can come up for someone in this position. One is, what is a step in a direction? Like, what is an on-ramp towards something, toward finding how to proceed if they don't have a tradition and don't know which way should I go? Which teacher should I meet? So that's the first question is, what would you recommend to someone who doesn't know what to do next? And the second question is, what are the major pitfalls, major problems that you see practitioners or sincere seekers today are most in danger of or most need to be spoken to? So that one is, what is the next step for somebody? And then what to be aware of?
Well, of course, it's not just somebody. I mean, it's not a vacuum, and they're not, jumping out of the froth on the sea. First thing is, where are you coming from? How old are you? We're not just talking about 15-year-olds, but maybe 45 or 65-year-olds.
Yes.
All right. So there's that. So especially in those cases, where are you coming from? What's been your experience so far? Now, if they weren't raised in anything and they're still pretty young, well, then you could say, well, not just you feel something, you feel called to something deeper. Then my first question would be, where? Do you feel a special, kinship maybe with the East or the West, or just try and take stock of, any other more precise calling or feeling you might have to pursue that. The problems that arise, I think, are, first of all, total constant distraction in social media, and total, we're so harried that we can't really focus, especially with young people, that they've never learned how to concentrate, or to turn inwards, in any kind of meaningful way. And that's a real issue. It's going to get worse as we go forward. But then, as I say, the other problems that come in are what are the emotional obstacles to moving forward on this? That's where, knowing about their background and you're doing spiritual direction, or maybe the need for therapy, that's where it comes in. But that's what spiritual direction is for. Okay, you're feeling something. Can we make that more precise? Can I give you a little guidance, one way or another? Can we try this? It can be a touch and go. It can be a trial and error. There's no problem with that. Try this. If it works, then fine. If not, well, then why not? And what does that mean for what does that indicate for your future progress, maybe on a related path or a totally different path? So don't be afraid to make mistakes, or to risk the leap. And if you're equipped for that, and see where that brings you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. To me, like as Father has been said, in Thailand or somewhere, that's from the very small, they are learning meditation That's also one thing. But another thing is, to me, now I think in our Dalai Lama and someone was working on recognizing the emotion in school from childhood. Like if someone say, are you happy, sad, or are you crying? Or so you put a how's a chart there, and you need to be point out, today I'm that. So this means uh, he or she, even that age, looking inside, and then we asking, mean, what are you feeling today? Mean we are bringing in, not out. If I give the mobile, I'm driving him to out. If I ask to you, like to me, someone, what's kind of feeling now? Mean it driving me in. So from the childhood, I think there is a program, I think. There's a training to meditation on compassion, meditation on a loving kindness. I think those should be bring to the school. And also that's for the young generation, to me, to really, if we want in our society to be future, like a healthy future, and that should be very important in the school. I think that's one thing. But for us, some are quite aged, some are medium, some are quite young. I think first we study, and try to find it. Don't make any decision at the beginning. Don't listen to other. This is good, that is bad, this is good. No, don't rely on other. You research yourself, study yourself. And when you study all this, then choose yourself, and then look like it's touched my heart. Look like this is what it is for me. Any religion, So then we should go there, and really once we there. But actually, I used to tell people, like many people when heard about the magical, or what you call miraculous, about the Dharma, and they think, oh, I want to be also Dharma person, So they are so but this doesn't work that way. And then they give up. They leave their family, they leave their business, and they want to go to cave. But that's not easy. And then when they get there, oh, I have not good, bad, I have not enough clothes, I have not right food. It's not, we shouldn't be doing that, So we need to be learn spiritual and business and the family or community. Those three should be balanced. If you could balance those three, all are important. You're standing on three pillars. One pillar goes, you will fall down. Mean you can't become a better person. If you really sit on those three pillars, spiritual, business, and community, like that. So spiritual means education also there, right? To be enlightening yourself. All the studies also coming there. So family and community mean your children, your couple, everything, your community. Or if you are really open person, our earth is our family. There's no more small, It's a big. I was telling people that when the Russia and Ukraine war, and to our oil, cooking oil, come from Ukraine to India and India to Nepal. And that becomes so expensive. Those two are actually nothing to do with me if we talk about the outside. But I'm in a pain because my cooking oil becomes so expensive. So that's the reason we are not to now anymore. World becomes so small. Why it is? Because technology is so advanced and world becomes small. And that really impact to us. So we need to learn how to be if we are conscious about this, how we are interdependent, how this earth becomes small. That way, I think Spiritual, that's also, I'm saying my family, education or spiritual, and the business to, we need food. We need a best in a spiritual. Dharma says you live a simple, most simple life. You use the simple cloth. You live in a simple house. It doesn't mean you eat a simple food. That simple food is the most healthiest. So that is, if we really follow the Dharma through those simple things and through really balancing, if you understand the Dharma or religion, you have to be humble, simple. Your view is very high, like seeing earth as my family, but your conduct is a very simple and very, humble. And then if you are live simple, you have less expenses. If you have less expenses, even small business, you can manage yourself. You are not so much suffering. So those easily now, if you have a small business, you can live, you learn how to live a simple, then you get a lot of time to educate yourself, be aware yourself, spending time on spiritual. So that's how I think that we have to look for that. Yeah.
Thank you. I think maybe it's time now to open up the dialogue to the audience, both in person and online. So how many people do we have online? Okay, great. So maybe we'll do one in person, one online, back and forth like that. So how do we want to do that? Do we have a microphone we can pass to people, or maybe I can pass this one because I won't need this. Sure, how this works. And I can give this to you.
Okay. No, I don't know when question comes.
So questions, if you have questions, please ask.
Thank you so much for this talk. You'd mentioned the beings that help us, presumably Buddha, Bodhisattvas, Jesus. Can you speak more about these beings? And I really want specifics. So I understand perhaps the move within, we can find this within Buddha nature, within Christ consciousness. I presume you were referring to something else, and without being too theistic, because I understand the cautions and the concerns about speaking of these as beings, but you did use the word beings. So I'm just wondering what these beings are for each of you, how you access them, how you meet them, how you practice with them, and their significance within your life, and then how they could be significant for us as practitioners. Thank you.
Well, even when I was a young monk, I was considered an angel nut because I was so interested in that. First of all, in the Christian tradition, Judeo-Christian tradition, really, on that tree of life, you've got 9 hierarchies of angels. Talk about the nine ways of burn, the 9 hierarchies of angels, and you can grow to, as you mature in the spiritual life, it's easier to access. You already have like a guardian angel, and they're archangels, and they're angels of the planets, angels of the nations, principalities, powers, dominions, thrones, seraphim, cherubim. You realize that all these are real. And as you grow, you can begin to get to their vibrational level through spiritual practice. And you meet along the way, and I've spent a long time showing the correlations here, with the Dhyani Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the different towers and the higher Bodhisattvas there, the Manjusri, Metatron, and so all these are real, and you can get used to, as you visit them, you see how they can fit together. They're in the same neighborhood or higher up or lower. And I do this every day. And it's just so wonderfully enriching and energizing and pacifying. And it's just fantastic because they're just these vast, as I called it in one of my presentations, the vast, wondrous realms beyond mind, beyond the lower, ego mind. They are absolutely real. I mentioned Amitayus a moment ago. You can find those who are especially close to you, that you have a special affinity for. Obviously, for me, Michael, Archangel Michael, which is, if you look at the Sephirotic tree and all, is right at the center point of reality, the highest point of the lower and the lowest point of the higher, which is why people are so preoccupied with Michael, at least in the Christian, even the Jewish tradition. Yes, very real and very wonderful and very much on our side and totally collaborative among themselves, as I was saying before, and with us, So it's just a matter of learning about them and learning how to access them, especially step by step. Start with your own angel, start with, Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, they're more on our level, and then see where that takes you as you study about it and practice. So that's for me anyway.
Yeah, to me, like before you talk about these bodhisattvas and Buddhas, they're somewhere on this. To me, it's not like that, to me is, so first we have to understand, like if I'm sick, where I go for refuge, I go to look for doctor. Those are can protect me. If I'm a psychologically problem, I may go to the teachers or Dharma religious teacher, or I go to the psychotherapist. If I broke my bone, I will go to the special bones things. I will go there. So like people, why we respect to teachers, why we respect to scientists. So, okay, so then what we does is to me, our system, what is talking is, suppose when you, in our life, when we practice, we are learning how to be loves others, how to compassionate myself and others, how to care others, like how to be wisdom should be increased, like improve. Suppose like in school, if I have enough knowledge or not, they examine me, right? If I pass my exam, I'm recognized that he is enough education on that, and they give me the certificate, right? Similar like that, but in Dharma, there is no certificate. But we need to be, assess ourselves. So like when you see very humble people, very simple people, mostly if you look to the, many yogis and, many fathers, or like I heard like desert fathers look like very similar like our yogis, but I don't know. I have no much knowledge about that. So anyway, so those people, they eat very little. In a desert, you can't find much food, right? In Himalayas, those yogis, they doesn't get enough like a 5-star hotel. Here, when I go to that make me so confused. Hundreds of choice, and then, like that, so there is not like that, they learn how to live simple. They're more focused. It's on assessing themselves, what's happening. If I don't get like what I want, and then they assess, look, now I miss the food. Oh, I miss my friend. I miss my place. Or like or if I have a nice bed, very soft and good bed, and when we go to the retreat in caves, we have to sleep on very hard. Sometimes we don't get sleep and we miss that. But then, no, if you don't do, this is the reason how you didn't live as a simple. That's why now you are problem, So therefore, so living simple. And when we learn this, when we simple living become our nature. You know, you can sleep any soft bed anytime. If you easily sleep on this hard wood, you can sit on a 5-star hotel bed very easy. There's no difficult of that. But if you to sit on a hard bed, that's very challenging. You know, so therefore, like who learn those and then who really assess, and then slow by slow, they learn how to live like this as a simple, and they become very, how say, their needy is so small, and they really sees that they craving, and then how they deal with their craving. You know, so there is, if you don't know the inner practice, you can't relieve or liberate from that craving, you know, missing and craving those. So then sometimes anger come, how you can, how say, liberate from your anger. Thoughts come, how you can, how say, liberate yourself from the thought. Lust come, how you can liberate from your lust. It's a not easy job. You need a very like a really well-trained practice. And then you can come over that. And then if you are able to come over that, and after you dying, so in us, it's like that, you know, I have old shoes, I throw the old shoes and put a new shoes. My mind is keep going. My body change. You know, when I change my body, we call I'm dying. You know, so many people feels because of there is no reincarnations. They think that I lost. It look like a dark, nothing. For us, it's not like that. Suppose how we can say it's like when you are in a dream, your body is totally on bed. Sometimes you are somewhere going a tour. And then what is that person in a tour is look like? Same. After the dying, we are same like that. In a dream, how you look like? Same exactly you will look like after dying. And you will get a dream. One time I was so, I was in school in our monastery, and then I was, you know, like a exam was so soon, you know, so near, and I was just playing and I wasn't paying attention on my study, and immediately I got so, worry. Oh, exam is so near. Now I can't cover my study. And so deep, you know, like so worried. And exactly that night I got a dream, and I'm in an examination hall, and I saw the question paper. I don't know any answer. I was so afraid, and then I woke up. I was in my bed. Oh, I said, thank you. Oh, it was a dream. It relieved me. I was so much in worry and so much in suffering. But as soon as I woke up, every worry is gone. You know, so that's how. If I angry too much now, I will angry in my dream also. I will burning inside my dream. That is a hell dream. So after we dying, if I'm keep fighting with other, in the after dying also I'm fighting there as I do in dream. So therefore, you know, like we rebirth, if these bodhisattvas, if I'm a very good practitioner, if I have a great compassion, now I become a bodhisattva. After I die, I choose where I want to born. And then come back again to serve others, to keep practice myself to become the Buddha. Those people always, because there are many people who want to help us, but we don't trust them. If we don't trust them, they can't help us. You got teacher, but you don't trust the teacher. That teacher won't work. It doesn't mean he is unkind. He is kind, but I couldn't open my heart to him. That's my problem. So therefore, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, even they come on us, in this human life or as any form of beings, or just in a mental body. So they're always looking to how we can help. Like as a sun comes, but North Face Cave, sun never get there. It's not, sun was not sectarian to them. Because sun is equally want to have a sun to us. Sun has no sectarian, but way how we face, that's where it doesn't get the sun. So therefore, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are there. There means it's not localization like I'm here in this table. There is no like that. How we are in the dream, there is no localizations. Similar like that, they are there in a mental form. And then they want to help us. So that's what I can say. Thank you.
Question?
No, some question. Maybe in the public? Does anyone have a question?
Right now, we have a new pope, and there's been a lot going on around the past pope, that just died, and we have a new person who is kind of a representative of Catholic religion. And when you're speaking about your religion, you're talking about a lot of myths. You're talking about practices that you are not happy with, things like that. And I'm curious, since it's a lot in the news, and it's a big thing in the world, your relationship with the Pope and how the Pope fits into your religion. And in the same way, if there's a representative in your practice that is that kind of representative speaking to the world about these important issues that we're all kind of wondering about.
Well, of course, we have a similar figure in the Dalai Lama, and the other, His Holiness is a phrase that's used in Tibetan as well. So His Holiness the Pope, well, of course, I don't know him personally. The point is, he should be someone that is transformed in Christ. We call him actually the vicar of Christ, that he represents Christ before the church and before the world. And that's what I hope he's up for that. And he seems to be. He seems to be a very, humble, a kind, soft-spoken, accomplished person who's focused on the needs of people. When he was bishop in Peru and as head of the Augustinians, so he seems to me a very Christ-like person. We would say that is transformed in Christ, and hope that he will continue to be that before the world. Just as we turn to the saints, we can turn someone who still in the flesh, who represents Christ for us in a very convincing way, and that's what we hope for him, and we pray for him that he'll be able to do that more and more fully. Personally, I'm very happy with the choice. I like to say that the Holy Spirit actually got in the conclave building. I don't know how she got in, but she did. If you want to use the pronouns, but the fact is that he's a figure that does represent Christ, and he seems to be doing it pretty effectively. So I'm pleased with that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, Leo, yes, I mentioned that, took his name, yes. Who and the last Leo, who was Pope for 25 years, at the very turn of 1878 to 1903, was the first Pope engaged in social justice and labor unions at the time of the the Industrial Revolution and all of that. So, in other words, focusing on people's real needs as time moves forward, as history moves forward. It seems to be a special dedication of his as well, which is great.
It's interesting because in my seeing this, I just spent time in South America, in Argentina, and so the news was very potent because of the past Pope being Argentinian, and I don't know, it's just been very present, more present in my consciousness than ever before. But the presence of the deceased Pope and the new Pope seems to be taking on political ramifications that we haven't seen in my lifetime quite, especially with a lot of the divisiveness in the world. They're providing a very different perspective, and not just about religion, but about social justice and equality. And
So not contrasting the two popes, they're very much on the same line.
right. No,
So
I
yes, so
agree.
there are conservative political and religious figures who are very much distressed by Francis and by Leo. So well, that's their problem, let
I
Jesus do his
guess
work.
what I'm saying is, they have positive political ramifications.
Well, of course they do, yes. Especially in our media age, whatever people know everything that's happening right away with everybody, better and for worse.
How you relate to.
Yeah, I think, like we are human, like I really don't, I keep conscious about them, but I have no, like if I vote, then I have control, right? If I don't have a verb, I have nothing other than just watching it, like watching and witnessing what's happening, what's going on, how should we prepare. But then to me, like really, what I'm doing, if something going wrong, if something going good, I appreciate, I admire, I really thanks. If not going wrong, it's also I can't, it's a not so powerful me, right? So what I can do, if whatever in my hand, I have to do. Beyond my hand, if I think too much, it's my suffering then. I have to do what it is in my hand. So therefore, what I look is any like holiness or whoever is also representative of us coming, we our try best, to be, if I have something rich, I can reach and try to be, come a good income for the welfare of everyone, If not, then I don't need to be worried, or I need to keep my own practice. To what I'm doing, I should keep doing my things. So I practice, I try my whatever is in my hand, which is out of my hand, I just keep up, do what I can, it is what it is, because as long as it is not in my hand, I can't do anything, right? So therefore, this is the way how I look. I want to look more myself, where am I going? How this matter to me. My mind is under my control. Other mind is not in my control. But I mean, I should ignore, I should not conscious, not mean that. I can try, but that try has a very small. If I try myself, I have a big, I can try a lot. So this is we need to be really conscious about this and do accordingly, I think.
One more question.
Thank you. Father Michael, I would be curious to hear more about the meeting points in your personal experience of like how your practice into different traditions either kind of converged in a potent positive way, or if there were examples of points of tension or conflict or confusion for you. And for both of you, I'm curious, more broadly, as different traditions start to converge and more people find themselves in this inter-spirituality space, and not just with different religious traditions, but also psychedelics and contemporary mindfulness, like secular practices. So I'm curious what you see as like risks and opportunities for people who are exploring that kind of hyphenated spiritual identity and like practice. Yeah, their practice is kind of informed by multiple inputs, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so one of the issues that's often brought up, oh, this is just syncretism, which just means things growing together etymologically. But the issue is if you're not going deep, you just say, oh, that looks nice. Or let me try that and mix these together and make a stew. Well, yeah, you're going to get into serious trouble because you're not respecting the authenticity or the wholeness, the integrity of each tradition. I never had a problem because I went really deep. 22 years in the silent monastery. So by the time I came out, when I did Zen, I thought, oh, this is helpful. This is helpful. For example, to expand my notion of God or get away from the notion of a little self that I had, a little soul here. So it helped me to refine. And I discovered, oh, that's actually what our own mystical tradition was saying all along, but we didn't really emphasize it. So there was never a point of tension or conflict. Not a single one. As I advanced, and doing Zen and continuing with Christianity. At one point, I remember doing Zen, I realized I have to let go of the word Christ, not Christ, but the concept, which, of course, in the end, you have to do anyway. Buddha, that's why they say in Zen, if you meet the Buddha, kill him. Because it's a concept that's getting in the way. It's limiting you. But the reality is there. And as I said before, there's no conflict in that supernal realm, among these various beings who in the end are just all one anyway, as we are among ourselves and with them. So there's never been a problem. As for tools like psychedelics, I'm 100% in favor. Psychedelics are a huge, marvelous, incredible, fabulous tool if they're done conscientiously and under the right conditions with persons who are experienced in a safe environment and the whole thing. But the sooner we can legalize them, the better, as far as I'm concerned, with proper use. Because I've known people, I've done in spiritual direction, I've had people come to me and share their experience, and they just totally blew their mind in the best possible sense. They came weeping and embracing and loving the whole universe. Come on, what's wrong with that? And maybe that's one reason we oppose them, because we don't want to lose control that way. The religions or the politics or whatever it might be. We can't control people, under our authoritarian systems if they're liberated like that and love the whole cosmos. So anyway, that's would be my response. Yeah.
How do you relate a very deep K-hole to the spiritual experiences and the visions and whatever you might get in that state? And how does that translate to the things you've been talking about?
Well, that's a good question. I always like to refer to the example of Ram Dass. Ram Dass, who did all sorts of trips for many years and discovered, fairly early, okay, this is as far as it's going to take me. This is great, but I've got to deepen my practice. And so he went to India and met Neem Karoli Baba, his great teacher, in Ramakrishna, Vaishnavism. So he realized that it opened the door for him, as I believe it can open the door for many people. But you can't stay there. You're just kind of going to be floating on a certain level of, the lower level of the spiritual, the fourfold, spiritual tree of life, because that's where you are, and Ram Dass recognized that. So then,
window, not a door.
That's a good one. That's right. It's a window. Yeah, that's right. You can't pass through the window. You can see, oh, there's more beyond this, but you got to go through the door in order to experience that. And the door would be, the deeper yogic spiritual practice, which he embraced and which totally transformed his life. I mean, I met him in his last years. I had an hour-long conversation with him at his home in Maui, and just the two of us. And he was just a totally transfigured person. He was really a saint. And it was very powerful just thinking about it. So there can be all sorts of doors or windows, but you have to go through a door or doors and really take a spiritual practice seriously or couple seriously. Not just syncretism and, oh, I like this, I like that. No, follow a path or follow paths, but do it at length, seriously, and with courage and surrender.
I had a follow-up question. Just one. Sorry, I don't want to cut off. But I remember that you mentioned a dynamic relating towards people having and not sharing, and some people being in lack and not attaining, something to that effect. And I was wondering if you can expound more on that dynamic, because I see it play out a lot presently. And I wondered if there was a relation between that and taking steps towards being a Buddha, being a Christ. Would that alleviate that dynamic or bring some resolution? Or what have we talked about that can bring some resolution to the dynamic that you mentioned?
Just to clarify, the dynamic of lack, you said?
Yeah, because there's a point. He said some people have and they don't give. I'm
When he was talking about
paraphrasing.
you have certain gifts and you'll also have certain limitations.
Yeah.
How does that relate to becoming a Buddha or Christ?
Well, he also said that some people don't want to share what they've discovered. That's what you're referring to?
That's what I'm referring to.
Or what's not want to share?
When people attain a certain degree of realization, they don't want to show off. And so he's wondering how, so you're wondering
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Some people don't want to show off because they have it, and then some people don't have it, and then they can't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic. I just like pattern. I don't know, it's
Yeah.
not exactly how you said it, but it had to do with people being separated from themselves and
Yeah. Yes, so which I share about those yogi who got, they don't share, mean it's not because of his stinginess, because when people see me something extraordinary than you, and then my ego immediately behind without knowing myself, my ego corrupting me. So there's yogis, when they got something, they never want to share, so that they are thinking, as soon as I share or I show, I prove who am I prove that I'm special, or I got a miraculous, or I got something supernatural power. Then automatically egos comes from our back and then really knock you down. So that's the why they have no interest on it. Show up. It's not they are not sharing. If they are really important, very serious, very needed, they will, but not in public. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and then before question was like about the psychedelic, and then how say what you call yeah. So those are I think to me, psychedelic. I heard a lot. I never tried that psychedelic. I don't know what it is. But people are talking, some people says, Geshe, I have one friend who was practiced a lot, and then later he was saying me, before I never get, I practice, but I never get an obvious of that state. I never got, and then always doubt me. Am I getting, or am I wasting my time? What I am? And then after he tried one, and that opened him, really obvious to me. And then, wow, what the books is talking and where I have to reach. And that courage him. I don't know how 100% or not he's sharing with me is like that. But even I heard a person who are not practicing and consuming those is the negatives rises, and so much frightened, so much problem, crying, pain, like that. I heard like that, it doesn't look every psychedelic open, always wonderful place look like. It depends which mood are you that time when you're consuming. Are you in a, positive mood? I think it opens up you the heaven. If you are in a negative mood, it opens you the hell. So it's hard to say, it's me still, I have to do research, more things, I can't tell it's wrong or right, but hopefully not used as a misuse. I don't want to see my brother and sister in a suffering. That's what I'm praying. And another, we are talking, secular practice. There are many people, no religion. My practice is secular practice. Okay. But they always use C, like a copyright. That's mine. Don't use and sue. That is the lack of dharma, actually. Real religion, when we lack, we don't understand if they don't get the essence of the dharma, and then they end up like that, like a mine. You stole, like that. I think, so if not like that, actually inside our religion, either you say born, either you say Buddhist, either you say Christ, or either you say reality. Whatever you use, this is just word. Do you understand the essence of that? If you do, you got it. If you don't do, useless to fight about those. There's nothing to do with those names. As Father says, I have to, as a Buddha, even Buddha come kill him. So Buddhist says that way, I have to give up. One time I was in monastery and there was someone was talking about bad thing about the bone. And I got so mad, And then my teacher said, look, you are so attached to the bone. This attachment is your suffering. Ah, yes, it is. So I keep up. No, I shouldn't. If I really want to be a genuine religious or practitioner, I should keep up those names. Otherwise, this will kill me. I have the experience of being stuck with those names. So these are the if secularism practice is look very nice because it also taking, as I said, name has nothing to do with it. It looks very secular, but if we lose our essence, then it doesn't work that way. Hopefully, those secular doesn't fade the essence and doesn't say my. There are many teachers says this is my lineage, my teacher, my style, my guiding meditation. Oh, he stole. Oh, that stole. I don't know what is going on there. So anyway, whatever it is, it will come for good also, bad also. Both are there. So good may flourish and bad may, conscious, be aware of those bad as a bad. If we conscious about bad as a bad, we never continue that. If we never conscious about bad as a bad, we never had regret. We never had, forgiveness. We never forgive us. We can't go for confess because we don't know wrong as a wrong. So hopefully they conscious wrong as a wrong. That's what I'm saying.
I'd just like to mention that today, Adam Buckle reminded me that today is the 32nd anniversary of the death of Bede Griffiths. Some of you know he's a great pioneer. He was a English Benedictine monk who spent the rest of his life in India and pursued that path as well as a Hindu yogi. So it's a propitious time to meet.
And not only that, but yesterday evening was Vesak, which is the day of the Buddha's birth.
Oh, Vesak, yes, right.
So quite auspicious.
Yes.
And so it is time to close. Is there any last, before we say our thanks, is there any last, very, very short, like one thing that in your heart you would like to say to people if there's anything that you would like to share that hasn't been addressed, very short, nice to hear.
Take the leap.
Yeah, I think be truth, but it's not easy. Try who you are. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to say thank you to both of you for taking the time and to both come here and share with us, but also to sincerely thank you both for your lifetime of dedicated and sincere practice toward these sublime aims that we all, have available to us, and for taking the commitment to help anyone you can to get closer. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for that. And thank you everybody for coming and sharing your questions, and as well as everybody online, and for Tibet House for being such a gracious host of this event. We're deeply grateful. So that concludes our event. Thank you both.